A courtroom, packed with people, mothers, fathers, friends, strangers who read about it online and couldn't look away. In the front, a grieving family, wearing their loss like a weight no one else can see. And at the defendant's table, a teenage girl, 17 years old. She isn't crying anymore. She's already cried. She's already spoken. She's already said she's sorry, and maybe she meant it. But sorry doesn't bring back the dead. Today, a judge has to decide, how do you punish a child for taking a life? Welcome back. Today we're breaking down one of the most emotionally charged sentencing hearings I've come across, the case of a young woman named Miss Malik, convicted in the stabbing death of a young man named Kimo Lawler, heard in a Florida courtroom. This one is going to stay with you. Before we get into that courtroom, let's talk about what brought everyone there. Florida. A young woman, a knife, and a boy named Kimo Lawler who, by every account people gave in that courtroom, was deeply loved. The letters that poured in for Kimo from friends, family, community members were so numerous, so heartfelt, that even the judge paused to acknowledge them. That doesn't happen every day in a courtroom. Judges see a lot. They process a lot. But even this judge said, and I'm paraphrasing here, we don't see this kind of outpouring often. That tells you something about who Kimo was. Now the defendant, Miss Malik. At the time of the incident, she was young, a teenager, a girl who, according to people who knew her, had dreams. She wanted to become a nurse. She had family behind her. She had a future stretching out in front of her. And then one day everything changed. The prosecution argued that what happened between Malik and Lawler was not an accident, not a mistake born of panic, not some tragic miscalculation. They argued it was a stabbing, deliberate, forceful, fatal. The defense pushed back. Their story was different: horseplaying, a phone out, a terrible accident that spiraled into tragedy. They painted a picture of a young girl who never meant for any of this to happen. So who was telling the truth? That question is exactly what the judge had been sitting with for weeks before this moment. Here's where things get very specific. And I want you to pay attention here, because this is the part of the hearing where the judge essentially laid out why she was about to make the decision she made. The medical examiner's report. A 4-inch blade. That blade entered the chest near the heart. And to get there, it had to go through a hoodie, then a t-shirt, then skin, then tissue, then muscle. Then it fractured a rib, and finally it pierced the heart. The judge read this aloud in that courtroom, slowly, deliberately, because she needed everyone in that room, including Malik, to understand what that meant. That is not a light touch. That is not a stumble. That is not someone running into a knife. The amount of force required to drive a blade through all of those layers: clothing, skin, muscle, bone, and still reach the heart. The judge called it uncontradicted. No expert disputed it. No testimony challenged it. And that's what made the defense's explanation, horseplaying, a phone, an accident, crumble under cross-examination. Because the body told a different story. The medical examiner doesn't have a side. The medical examiner doesn't feel sympathy or resentment. The medical examiner just reports what the body shows. And what Kimo Lawler's body showed was force. Intentional, directed force. That single report became the foundation of everything the judge decided next. Now here's where we get into some courtroom procedure, and I'll keep it simple, don't worry. The defense made 2 arguments for what's called a downward departure, which is basically a legal way of asking the judge, can you sentence her to less than the standard guidelines? Argument 1. The crime was unsophisticated and isolated, and she showed genuine remorse. The judge rejected this. Why? Because the medical examiner's report proved the opposite of unsophisticated. The degree of force, the location of the wound, none of it suggested something random or careless. And as for isolated incident, the judge said she didn't believe, based on the evidence, that this was Malik's first moment of aggression toward the victim. That's a heavy thing to say, but the judge said it. Argument 2. Sentence her as a youthful offender. Florida law has a special category for young defendants. It allows judges to reduce a sentence significantly because of the defendant's age and potential for rehabilitation. And here's the fascinating part: the judge actually agreed that Malik qualified for this designation. She met the legal standard. But qualifying for something and receiving it are two different things. The judge said, yes, I can apply it. The question is, should I? And after weeks of going over the materials, the evaluations, the testimony, the letters, she decided, no, because a life was lost, because the manner in which it was taken could not be minimized, because the sentence, she said, must reflect the seriousness of what happened and must protect the public. So the youthful offender designation was off the table. Now what? The judge asked Miss Malik to rise. And before she announced the sentence, she did something that I think is worth noting. She spoke to her. Not at her. Not down to her. She looked at this young woman and she acknowledged her humanity. Even in that moment, she said, you are young. Youth doesn't excuse what happened, but it is real, and this court sees it. She told Malik that she believed she was capable of rehabilitation, that she believed Malik would get through this, that one day hopefully there could be forgiveness. Not now, but one day, she told her, you will still have a life ahead of you. You will still have the opportunity to become a nurse, to have a family, to be with your family. And then she said the words that cut the room in half. But you have deprived Kimo's family of that. And for that there must be punishment. The sentence, 17 years in Florida State Prison, followed by 5 years of reporting probation. Conditions of probation included a mandatory mental health evaluation, compliance with any required treatment, and this is the part that stood out to me. Every year on December 20th, while on probation, Malik must write a letter, acknowledging what happened, reflecting on how it has affected her life. December 20th. Every year. I don't know if that's the anniversary of Kimo's death, but that date, the specificity of it, tells you this judge thought hard about every single detail of this sentence. Let's take a step back. 17 years is a long time. If Malik serves the full sentence, she will walk out of prison as a woman in her mid-30s. Her teenage years, her 20s, her early 30s gone. Behind bars. Is that justice? Is it enough? Is it too much? That's the debate that's happening in comment sections and living rooms whenever a case like this makes headlines. On one side, the victim's family. Kimo is gone. He was young. He had people who loved him deeply. His family will carry that grief for the rest of their lives. For them, no sentence feels sufficient. How could it? You cannot weigh years in prison against a human life and call it even. The judge herself said it plainly. Nothing this court does will restore what your family has lost. On the other side, there are people who look at a teenage girl with no prior adult record, with a supportive family, with dreams of being a nurse, and ask, is locking her away for 17 years the answer? Does that make anyone safer? Does that make anything right? The judge, to her credit, sat in that tension openly. She didn't pretend it was easy. She said multiple times that this decision weighed heavily on her, that she had been reviewing the materials for weeks, that this was not something she wanted to do. But she did it, because that's what justice sometimes looks like: not clean, not satisfying, not healing, just accountable. Cases like this one don't leave you. They're not the kind of story where you close the tab and move on. They stick. They make you think about how young people make decisions that alter entire trajectories, not just their own, but everyone around them. A boy named Kimo Lawler is gone. His family is broken in a way that will never fully heal. His friends wrote letters for him. Strangers showed up to a courtroom for him. That's a life that mattered. And a girl named Malik, whatever you think of what she did, will spend the next 17 years paying for it. She'll come out the other side of her sentence if she makes it, and she'll have to figure out how to live with what she's done. Every December 20th, she'll write that letter. Every year, a reminder. Nobody won in that courtroom that day. The judge said it herself. Somebody had to say it out loud. Nobody wins here. But maybe that's the most honest thing a judge can say. If this case made you think, if it made you feel something, drop a comment below. I want to hear your perspective on the sentence. Was 17 years the right call? Should she have gotten youthful offender status? Let's talk about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a case breakdown. I'll see you in the next one.